Hello and welcome back to Blizzard Buzz. I'm your host Ara. With me tonight are my lovely co-host Caliph and our special guest for this evening, General Manager of the Maine Timber Southpaw. Southpaw, welcome to Blizzard Buzz. It's an honor to have you with us today.
Oh, I'm very excited to be here. Glad we could finally find a time that worked for everyone so we could get this done.
Don't tell them we have a troubled production.
When I say that, it's really from my end that the problem was happening.
So to start
Who's
off,
our editor in this ridiculous roleplay fiction of ours? Is it Gwen?
Yeah, I would say
we could probably force Gwen into doing that for us.
Probably.
She's way too nice to say no.
Yeah, well, assuming she's not too busy with QTC. But anyway, start off, Southpaw. Looking back this season, how would you say Maine has performed according to what you'd hoped at the outset? Would you say there's been any major stems that have stuck out to you, or would you say it's been a good season overall?
It's been a real interesting season for Maine. We got a little bit creative at the beginning of the season. We had a solid draft, and we really wanted to see if we could build some chemistry on a team. And we got off to actually one of our worst starts in the past 16 seasons, really. And we started out at 12-12. So to end the season 42-23-1 after starting out 12-12 is really good. So we're kind of slowing down here towards as we finish the season off, but that's just so we're ready to leap in playoffs and be ready. So overall, I'd say it's a successful season. We're poised for more success in the future. Had a really great draft. So really happy, but now the new season starts, which is playoffs.
Fair enough.
I know we're all sort of hunkered down and wondering how we're going to survive that wave of just QCC dominance coming back in for their second round. Assuming that you make it that far, which of course you won't. You know, the scarecrows are going to blow you out of the water as we do every year.
The scarecrows are going to heat.
The scarecrows always be one of the biggest blights in my career because they kept us from achieving the back-to-back-to-back. Game 7 in season 72 will always just hurt so bad to not have that, but. It should be a fun one. With the parity in the league nowadays, even with the QCC dominance, I mean, very rarely do we ever enter a season now where there's not 5 or 6 teams that could win the cup, that you wouldn't look at the back and be like, wow, I'm shocked that team made it all the way or lifted the cup at the end of the season.
See, now I know that we promised you there wouldn't be anything that's too difficult. You know, we didn't want to, spring any really, really nasty questions on you.
We'll bring all the nasty questions. I'm happy for.
Fantastic. So, like the meaning of life.
Oh my God, Caliph. Yeah. I already told you.
So here's how I answer the meaning of life question. You look in a mirror and you ask whoever you're staring back at when you're looking in the mirror what makes them happy, and that's the meaning of life to that. Right there. Boom. There's your profound statement.
Oh, man, okay.
I'll do you one better, Caliph. It's 42.
If we're going by cinema basis, then it's 42.
But anyways, heading into the next season, what would you say are your biggest hopes for your current batch of players, and what are you looking for in this upcoming draft? I mean, I know it's one of our, I don't know if I would say better classes coming in, but they're certainly not bad by any measure.
Yeah, we know your recruitment class was ridiculous. Season 79 was almost unfair.
It's going to be... It'll be the same approach. Luckily, Maine has been in a unique situation pretty much every season where there's been very few drafts that we haven't gotten at least 4 actives in it. So that's kept the draft need way down for us. And it'll be no different this coming season. The biggest thing that we're trying to do over in Maine right now is really get more young users involved and bolster that war room so we can continue that development even into the seasons and seasons to come.
Now, I know we've had a bit of a running issue with some of our younger viewers. You say younger viewers, some of our younger recruits, where they wind up being very involved in the LR, but they don't actually intend to really do their PTs and their
Hmm.
MPTs nearly as much. Is that something you notice as well? And if you found a
Oh,
way to ameliorate it,
ooh.
tell me, spill your secrets.
We have had a few problems. We've had some active users in the locker room, but they just don't feel like they want to do any activity checks or
Mhm.
anything like that. And really, you can't ever press someone too hard with that because, in all honesty, this is a fake hockey league where people are just coming to have fun. And
Mhm.
if you start to pester someone too much, then that's going to ruin any hope for them to ever find enjoyment in it. And you can't get them to come back or get them more involved if they leave because they're being pressured too much. So especially in the Jays, we just try to create it where if you're talking in the locker room but you're not really doing PTs, we'll check in with you every week. Sometimes I'll be extra annoying and check in every couple of days to see if you need anything. But really, we're just making sure that you're having a good time, not spamming links at you too much anymore with the new portal or anything like that. So, and that's really all you can do as a J team. Just make sure your users are having a good time. And normally it'll all work out, but there's always the cases where it doesn't.
And let me just say straight up, that's not the way that we do things in the SHL. All right. If I catch you missing a single PT, straight to hell, to the boiler
Oh,
room of
speak
hell.
for yourself. I've done every one of my PTs, and I'm leading the team in PPE earn this season.
I still
You
can't
guys are
believe
lagging
that.
behind.
Hey, that's the big leagues. You got to make sure you're carrying your weight in the big leagues because there's plenty of people that are prying for that spot. So I definitely understand that. If I was more involved in the SHL side of things and management aspect, I could definitely see spamming a lot more links and really holding my players to a higher
Oh,
expectation.
well, let me. Well, I'll actually give you credit. You're number 7, or Caliph, so I can't be too hard on you.
I do my work.
Yeah.
Let me see.
Um,
Now I know you're. I think you're moving up as well, Arch. If I'm not mistaken, Southpaw.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely fell off for a season. You can probably ask everyone over at Manhattan that my TPE took a little bit of a dip as I was going through some real life stuff over the past couple seasons, but I'm still rather up there. I just spent Yakpo Numalaven as my current player right now. He just spent his rookie season on the Rage, who just had a solid season and looking to do something in the playoffs this year. So it'll be fun to watch him kind of go through and see where his TPE gets. He's not going to hit 2,000, but he should keep progressing nicely.
Oh, for sure. And I mean, he's just got a
oh,
name that's so
definitely.
fun to say. Right? Like,
Well, my philosophy when it comes to player names has always been take two players that I like and I sandwich them together and I splice it. So Jacob Slavin's my favorite real life hockey player.
mhm.
And when I first created, I was a part of the Finland uh, IIHF nation, and I just
Mhm.
found the best scoring Finnish player. And I can't even try to pronounce his name, but I just spliced it in half and put them together, and then you get Yakpo Numalaven. So that's where my names always come from, except for Nibbles the squirrel. That was an outlier.
Wait, Nibbles. Where have I heard that name before? Is that
It was just I thought it'd be funny if you imagined a squirrel on a hockey rink. So that's
yeah.
and Nibbles seemed like a good name for it.
It's always fun to see like
Oh,
weird names. Who's that one person that's got a they're literally a sentient laundry hamper?
oh
There's
God.
some yeah,
It's
there's
not
some
Leaky Stink.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and they're like a really good player as well.
yeah.
Like it's not a shit post.
Yeah, that was my very first player when I first joined the SHL in season 58. I did it after the Geico commercial with the walrus in net. It was Duncan the walrus, and that I just thought the renders were so much fun for that one.
I know I've got a. I should probably get a better render, given that I've just been using Brawl League of Legends for
Okay.
the whole time. But
Oh, it does
Yeah.
its job. It gets the point across.
So long as it's serviceable, that's all that matters.
yeah, speaking of which, Ara, who's your render?
My
Um,
render
I don't,
or
I don't even know. I selected someone at random for it,
No,
so I
you've
don't.
got a real person as your render.
Yeah, I can't remember her name.
yeah. Mine's Jacob Slavin, but
I've got your page right up right now. Just like All right, look at all these stats. Absorb all the GM knowledge.
Yes.
Speaking of the IHF, actually, I know Yakpo, I think, went to France this time.
Yes,
Yeah.
yeah. There was a good opportunity. I had never really messed around. I had been in Finland since season 58, and
Mhm.
I can't even speak ill about Finland at all. Such a great group of people. But there's just a time where I was just like, you know what? Seemed like my track might not get exactly where I wanted to do, and I thought I wanted to try to get a little bit more involved in
Mhm.
everything. And France just looked really enticing, a new kind of nation that was springing up. And then I was sitting there just like reading through everything, and I started looking at the roster that France had, and I was like, oh my gosh, I know this person. I know
Yeah.
this person. I know
Yep.
this person. I was like, so I just like reached out to Finland and said, this is what I'm kind of thinking about. Is that going to throw too much of a loop on y'all's end? And they said that, I mean, they're so respectful and everything. They said, I mean, of course it hurts losing me, but it doesn't
Mhm.
like throw anything off too badly. I was still a few seasons out, and I'm still a few seasons out in France, but
Mhm.
I transferred over there and having a great time. Good group of people over there.
Yeah. I know that was the same thing with when I was leaving, and I had to talk to Kale as well when I had to leave Canada. Honestly, the HO or the HO, the Fed heads are just honestly really chill. It's one
Yeah,
of the things I like about the IHF is it's very laid back compared to the the sort of cutthroat trading dynamics in the SHL. It's a little
Exactly.
ruthless.
Well, especially when you're in a nation like Canada or the U.S., that has just a plethora of players, and really, you have to honor some of the things that your players are going to ask from you as GMs of those nations or heads of those nations, because, like I said, it all comes back to giving users a good experience, and IHF is a great way to get a good experience, and you don't want to block people from having that.
Exactly. You should send all of your good players over to Quebec where we can have fun with them.
Oh boy,
Is
now this podcast is going to get flagged for tampering.
isn't that right, Cake? Oh, no. I reviewed the rule book. Just listen, just saying that, my nation is the best and it's better than
Yeah,
everyone else's.
it's a
That's
very
not
it's a
tampering.
yeah, just a very vague blanket statement that
Yeah,
that's where you should
exactly.
all go.
I know yeah, because I know actually I think that was my first punishment was Popel inviting me over onto Team France. I was like, oh, this is gonna be great. And
uh,
I've been on the site for all of like 3 weeks. And I've got my
you
first
know,
punishment.
I'm knocking on a ton of wood right now, but I've been in charge for took over in season 64 as GM of the Timber and have been in various leadership positions. Still have yet not had a punishment post yet, but I mean, some people will argue that I have been punished, but it's not nothing official. Nothing official.
Nothing official. I know that's always what Egg and Hiff are telling me is you're not a real GM until you've had your first
Yes.
punishment.
Hey, if you're not trying to win some way, shape, or form, is it even a competition?
Nah.
Yeah, so I know you spoke about the sort of hands-off approach to not driving people away by forcing engagement. But who would you say are your biggest assets, maybe outside of yourself? People that you really want to draw attention to as maybe they're really good coaches or they're fantastic scouts or who's your support staff? What makes your team tick outside of yourself?
Well, I mean, the war room in Maine is super strong. I always come back to say this. My job was one of the easiest in the world when I took over Maine because users like Toast and Kale and Crash and all of these people that came before, and Koa, who of course started Maine, had worked so hard in the prior seasons to build this culture that made users really excited to be a part of Maine. So that culture was something that I could jump into and just kind of add a little bit of Southpaw flair to it, I guess if you would call it that, to just keep people engaged. And over the seasons, we've had uh, it almost seems like every 4 seasons we have a new, you know, I'll call it an MVP of the locker room where they're just like taking charge of their class and that group's thing. And there's been users like the Midships crew with Kyan Prak and Ratsbua that have been fantastic, and we have had countless others. But right now, I will say we've had users like McScooty and Louchy, who are first gen users that have been fantastic. They've made it up into the war room. We've had people like Bad Wolf come over into our war room, and she has really stepped up and helped with scouting and everything. And then I'd be remiss if I didn't say I have one of the better co-GMs in the league right now, if not the best co-GM in the league, with Mike. He's fantastic, super involved in the site. We work really well together, bounce ideas off each other, and it never takes us long to get on the same page and get things accomplished.
100%. I mean, Mike's in our
yeah.
front office at Quebec.
So yeah, you guys know how great he is.
And that's
I
saying
know
nothing of how well he's done as, I think, head of the media grading team. Man,
Well, he's worked
Yeah.
very closely with. Oh, and I'd be remiss if I didn't mention Toe Jam as one of the pivotal parts of the success.
Oh,
It still
definitely.
hurts. Sometimes I block him out of my mind since he didn't get back drafted to us. But I know he's over in there, St. Louis, doing a really good job, and I know everyone in St. Louis knows how valuable he is.
Absolutely,
So,
and he is also on Quebec, would you believe?
yeah.
He was one of our really big pickups this trade.
Yeah, he's fantastic, and some of the food pics that he posts are just amazing.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, we've got our standing agreement of anytime we're up that far north, we have to stop by.
Yeah, for sure.
Let me see. What is so? Are you involved in the more coaching side of the Maine Timber, or do you have people who sort of, I don't say shadow GM for you, but like they do more of the technical FHM stuff for you?
I'm probably a unique, not probably a unique situation because every single GM in this league is, at least in the Jays, they really, really care about their team and they get involved in as much as they can. But one of my things is there's not something that goes on in the team that I don't really take charge of because I feel it's my responsibility as the GM to make sure that things are running as smoothly as possible. So I have pretty much been the main tactics guy for since season 64, really, even back when we had sliders for unit tactics and player tactics. And so even before the sim testing ban, I was heavily involved with that. I've slowly started showing people things here and there, but really in the Jays, there's only so much you can do. There's kind of every few seasons, there's a meta that kind of comes out where it says, this is the best way to play these players. And we can start the discussion about what impacts roles have in the sim, and you could be on the side that it really doesn't matter what the player role is to do it, because it doesn't if you really know how FHM works. But there are some that the sim engine just seems to like a little bit better. And so
I know that was we did our breakdown on Cake, and yeah, there were years where
Yes.
she was just the SHL's favorite, just the
Yeah.
favorite person. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, and it'll go in waves too. But I mean, very rarely nowadays, if you don't build a line with a power forward or someone that's playing a little bit heavier, someone that's more creative, and someone that is a pure goal scorer, will those lines not all just put up nearly 100-point seasons as they stick together, and you don't move them around as much, at least in the Jays. And then really even countering tactics and things like that, there's only so much you can do. It really is a random number generator at times. So as much as I would love to sit here and say, oh, I out tactician people and that's how you find success, it's RNG, and all you can do is really set your team up for the best successes possible and then click a button.
Well, there is one other
Yes.
thing that we can ask you about that. What's the dumbest tactics that you've run? I know Ramen once told us that every once in a while he'll run just an incredibly stupid team during the preseasons because they don't matter.
Oh, max out all the sliders at the top there. That's
Yeah.
always the fun one. Max aggression with max shooting, and you'll just, if you ever watch the sim for that, your players will literally just be shooting from all over when that happens, and so that's always fun. And watching your players, if you ever do that in preseason when you have back to backs and you have max tempo, max aggression, and you bump everyone's minutes kind of up, you just watch your team play on zero fitness for the rest of the preseason after
They're
that.
exhausted,
So so that's always fun to kind of mess with. And but really with the way things work nowadays, like acting like it's been forever that I've been doing this, but you have to kind of utilize preseason as a part of the training, because chemistry is just so important in this game, and you can't really mix up your lines too much. And without test simming, you have to use games that don't really matter to check out if different tactics might work for your team. So you don't see the crazy strats as much. You'll probably call this the crazy strats more just some people don't get around to messing with their lines or filling out their roster. I don't consider those crazy tactics, just like it's in the way and you might not fill out everything in time. So, but yeah, I mean, preseason we've had some fun ones before. Not so much anymore with the crazy tactics, but definitely have had some before.
I know I keep bombarding you with questions. Ara, do you want to have any? And of course, South, if you want to throw any of your own out, you're more than welcome to as well.
Well, I'll definitely keep that in mind. I might wait for like a gotcha moment.
Admittedly, the big one for me has been, I know one of y'all's star players over the past couple of seasons has been Doug Waite.
Mm-hmm.
My question for you is now, what does his departure or his retirement or departure from the team mean for y'all? What impact do you think it'll have? Do you have any up-and-coming players who you think will fill the hole he's leaving, or are you not sure at the moment?
So Doug Waite, Oilman Dan was the user behind that player. Great user. Didn't really click too well in the league, which was unfortunate, but he loved Maine. And I mean, that's really all you can ask for as a SMJHL GM. Of course, you want to train users to get to the SHL and to thrive in the SHL, but it doesn't mean we need to forget about the users that might not have SHL aspirations. And he didn't, but that didn't mean that we didn't care any less about him. And he's probably, if not our top point scorer, I haven't checked, but one of the top point scorers in Maine's career. And that he played that center Gretzky's office role that does extremely well in our system. And what that means when someone like that departs is it's time for the next player to do that. And luckily, we have such success with how we build that position that normally younger users are salivating at the ops, like, I want you to make my player play exactly like that. And it's like, well, we can give you build advice and everything. And if you want to play that way, this is what we normally say to do. Or if you want to play this way, this is what you should do. And really, however you want to build your player to accomplish that, that's our job as GMs, is to help you get there. So normally the position kind of sells itself, and people want to be like Doug Waite, or they want to be like Edward or Mia Lavoie, who we had for a while. And so we just kind of have the center build that way, and the next one steps up. This season we had Valtteri Pulkkinen, who was he was on the wing. He stepped up, but the big ones were Lauchi's player and McScooty's players, those centers that played that Gretzky's office role. They ended up with 99 points this season, each of them. One of them, McScooty's player, only on 350 TPE, so still 2 more seasons left. So that's kind of how we account for it. Like I said, we just ask players what they want to do. They want to be an offensive player. This is how we say is a great way to build. Never forcing a player to build a certain way, of course, but just to be the guide for them. If they say they want more goals, it's like, well, then this is what I recommend that you do. If you want to be more defensive, this is what I recommend you do. So that's kind of how we approach that and keep it to where we always have someone in the top 5, top 3 in scoring. I mean, it's been a while now. I think this season will be one of the first seasons in a long time where a Maine player doesn't win either the point total for the league or the goal total for the league at the end of the season.
Be at least, I think, 3 or 4. Well, let me put it this way. I've been doing awards presentations for the league now for probably at least 2-3 seasons, and pretty much every J award show, it was dominated by Maine. So I'll admit it's going to be quite the change to not see y'all up there as much.
Yeah, I mean, we'll definitely have.
No, go ahead.
We'll definitely have some players that probably get a nomination here or there. But the great thing about the J is most teams really don't care too much about those individual awards. You just kind of want to have a chance as a team to be competing for the cup, and there's very few times that we as Maine don't compete for the cup. And I think this is one that if Maine lifted the cup at the end of the season, no one would be overly shocked, and that's really all you would want as going into a season is no one would be overly shocked if you won. So that means you're in position to win.
That is definitely. I mean, at this point, with my meager 4 seasons under my belt, I'm just in a point where I wouldn't be surprised if Maine wins, just in general.
Well,
I,
I
I
know.
think since season 67, I think Maine has only missed 4 Cup Finals appearances. That's like, as much as I try to say that as a brag, it's really not a brag. It just shows you how often I lose in the finals rather than win finals. But
Well,
it's
it's not like you're going up against the same guy each time, though.
yeah, I mean, like I said, the parity in this league is just insane. So really, you can, I mean, Quebec sitting here with one of the best teams I've seen in a while, I think, and you still have teams like Newfoundland, Carolina, Anchorage that are all just like breathing down their neck, waiting for them to it's going to be a bloodbath in the Northern Conference to see who gets into the 4-Star Cup final.
That'll be fantastic. I mean, normally at this point we're already starting to talk in the All-Star committee, but it's completely silent. Everyone's holding their breath because we have no idea who's going to come out of this.
Yeah, you just have no idea this, and that's really what you want in the Jays is those mid-season 50s and that Newfoundland dynasty that will go down as the greatest dynasty in SMJHL history, winning 5 out of 6 cups over the course of that time. That I mean, not taking anything away from them, but I just don't think you'll see that level of dominance ever again because of the rules that have been implemented and all of these different changes that have come about, but also just because we have so many greatly run organizations in the league right now. So it just becomes harder and harder to have those standout seasons.
Don't worry, we're working on it.
well, here's hoping that at least a few more J teams will end up following in y'all's lead. I mean, in all honesty, you've been a great example to many aspiring GMs and a lot of the new blood that's taking over on both the Jays and the SHL.
Well, that probably depends on who you ask, how much I've been an aspiring person that users should be like in the Jays. But all I can tell you is that I just try to do the best for my team and my organization. And not very many players in Maine, I think, would say that they don't have a good time. And that means I'm doing my job as a JGM, in my opinion, if everyone on Maine is happy.
Hey, I've played against Maine and I didn't have a good time. Does my complaint count?
Hey, we always have extra room on our bench if you want to come find out.
Whoa, hey, no, that's tampering.
That is tampering right there.
Yes,
Call me on it.
Welcome to Tamper Town, baby.
Right.
I know.
Actually,
there it is right there.
As the presiding member of HO, it is not tampering.
Come on, Cake, trade me. I've still got. Oh no, we're eliminated. Come on.
Oh, wait, you're SHL down, buddy.
Hey, please, Cake, trade me to the opposite team in the games in which we're playing against them. No. Listen, I'm at this point. Listen, the Scarecrows they're a very, very interesting outfit. There's a lot of there's a lot of rank stupidity that goes on in that LR, and I love it for that.
Yes,
it's fantastic.
Well, you guys seem to have a plan, and that's the biggest thing. that's the biggest thing. Whether or not you have a plan or not, that's up to your GM. I was
going to say you worded that very carefully there, so.
But that's the key is, and really for all teams, as long as you have a plan and you can tell your players that this is where we want to be in X amount of seasons, then that's really all you can ask for.
No, let me see. I know that you've been through the cycle a few times yourself now. What do you think there's any unique challenges that comes from really going in the SHL while still being a GM in the Jays? Do you find that difficult at all, or is that actually a pretty easy thing to negotiate?
That's been probably one of my biggest challenges in any sim league that I've ever been a part of. I have always loved the development side of the leagues because I guess I get a little ADD sometimes, and I always love when new things are happening and roster turnover is happening. And I just think that the SHL, of course, is a completely different beast, and I'm not going to sit here and comment like I know what it takes to be an SHL GM because I've never done it. Therefore, I'm not going to act like I know the ins and outs of it.
Oh, but okay, I don't either.
But I do think that with the season limit and the caps and everything, there's there's unique things that you have to do in the Jays that you just don't get in SHL, and one of them is being really engaging and active in your locker room, and that can make it harder to be really engaging and active in your SHL locker room because you're sitting there trying to be so involved in the Jays organization that you might not have the energy to get as involved with your SHL team. And I think that's fine, to each their own. Don't burn yourself out, but it's definitely been one of my biggest struggles. And people on the Rage can probably vouch for that, since I don't really say too much in there. But I'm still there, slowly earning.
You hear that? You hear that, Ara? Don't
Yes.
don't burn yourself out, please. Please, we need you. I'm not relying on you for 2 teams.
I'm not going to burn out, trust me. And also, I'll give this advice to a certain up and coming user who is following my path. Noxu, do not burn yourself out, okay, buddy? You're doing well, but need to dial it back a little bit. Anyway.
Yeah, you just got to make sure you're doing what's right for yourself and wherever you're finding the most enjoyment in the league, whether that be with have as many jobs as you can hold. That's up to you. Me personally, as someone that's held a lot of jobs before in various sim leagues, I think I start getting the most miserable the more jobs I hold, because it can get exciting, but also all it takes is to go through one down point or one stressful thing in your life, and it just starts to pile up. So I've just tried to avoid that.
I understand that, and that's actually kind of where I'm at right now.
Mm-hmm.
I'll actually be stepping down from a few of my jobs, namely the SMJHL HO, and at the end of this season, and stepping down from WJC HO next season.
Mm-hmm. Well,
she's leaving her government jobs.
Well, I've still got the SHL head office job. So.
Well, I mean, yeah, exactly. And you got to just take care of yourself. And I've fallen into that trap before, where I'm just like on this high of, oh, this league is amazing. There's so much to do. I love this and that. I'm going to take over WJC commissioner. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do this. And then all of a sudden you have something happen in real life, or something gets a little bit more complicated, and it's like, oh, now I can't put all that effort in there. Now it just becomes stress, and it gets harder to manage that.
Oh, I fully agree. And again, that's part of the reason why I would say to myself and a lot of the folks that are looking for jobs in the league, it's great to have them. It's a great way to get involved, but you need to understand that you're here to have fun, not burn yourself out on work.
Yeah, definitely.
In the interests of bringing things to a little bit more of a positive place, like a moving forward going sort of thing, because we do this every single we do this every single podcast where we bitch about jobs and
you guys should make a graphic or a section that just like, it's like, this is their designated time to complain about jobs and everything that. Just the sulking hour, the sulking 10 minutes that we're gonna go through.
We gotta have like an Excel spreadsheet where like a line graph, like
exactly.
energy on the Blizzard Buzz podcast, and then like it drops through the floor.
Exactly.
So let me see. Given your current roster, what are some of the who are some of the players that you're most excited to see them move on and really perform, either with your team or without?
So I think the most exciting prospect that we have, because just as a user all around, would probably be the player name is Scott Fortune, but it's the user McScooty.
Oh yeah,
they're I think going to be a really, really strong player in the SHL. Probably going to be one of our stronger alumni. I think they just fit the bill for it. Philadelphia is a great location for them to thrive in. Kale and all of those guys. Philly was probably my favorite SHL experience that I've had. No shot at Manhattan or anything, because Koa, I have utmost respect for Koa and everyone over in that organization. But Philly is a really, really great organization that's going to use Scott Fortune and McScooty's player really, really well. And then always a slept-on player, but he thrives in Maine, is Wildfire Micro. Darby Resnor is their player. They put together some amazing careers that sometimes don't really go that noticed. And so I think Darby and Scott are going to be the biggest players that are coming out. Dang he's got the TPE, he's just not as active of a user, and same with Anthony Luchard, which is Louchy's another top player, but I just don't know how involved he'll be. Whereas Wildfire, Micro, and McScooty, they really fit the bill on all fronts there.
Yeah, I remember scouting McSudy and going, this person's great. Unfortunately, that draft class had a lot of fantastic people.
So many. I mean, we didn't think he would fall all the way to us, and we were so thankful he did. Like I said, he's already gotten into the war room and everything. So I think that he's going to do really, really well. And like I said, he's still got 2 seasons of eligibility with us. Whether or not he's down for both of those seasons, I don't know what Philly's plans are, but he's going to do well whenever he's called up.
I know. Is he scouting for you guys now?
He is. We have him and Lauchi, who do a lot of the build and statistical component of our scouting, where they're analyzing builds and kind of trying to get a good idea of what type of player these guys are going to be building. So that's something that we look at pretty closely.
That's a much more technical version than our method of just ask the prospect.
Yeah, I mean, if I get your Discord, that means I have a chance of keeping you active. So that's kind of how I look at it from time to time.
Yeah, for sure. I know. It's I love scouting. Honestly, it's one of the best parts of the game for me.
That's the most addicting part, I think. Just that idea of it's almost like playing the lottery. You want like I get excited for the first round picks and everything, but you really don't have to worry about them too much. So when you get into the third rounds and even the fourth rounds, and you're just like, oh, I want this player. I want to be the team that brings this player back active, or I want to be the team that finds the steal of the draft, which I think every team goes through, and it's a high. It's almost a little addicting when you do that.
Well, I know it's one of the most fun things in the world for me is you scout somebody and then they turn around, they start scouting themselves. It's it's sort of like that arc from Free Run where you have the teeny tiny little baby recruit, and then like you turn around and suddenly, oh my gosh, where did all the time go? You're an adult now doing
Exactly, and you see that process happen much quicker in the J than anywhere else, and I think that's one of the reasons I've always enjoyed it more is you see the users grow much quicker than you do in the SHL. Because most of the time, the users that make it to the SHL have already found out where they kind of fit in and what they are going to be doing. Very rarely do you see an astronomical amount of growth in any player once they go up to the SHL. You normally see it within the first 2 or 3 seasons in the SNJHL.
Let me see. Honestly, it's so different compared to the IHF as well, right? Because you're not really selling the team; you're looking for talent. But it's almost the reverse in the IHF, where you've done your scouting ahead of time, and it's more just. Well, I shouldn't say that. Some of my scouting for Quebec has literally been showing up, posting
pretty much.
Well, and saying, you probably
join the team.
Yeah, and you'll probably one of your biggest things for scouting in the SHL or in the IHF is you take your roster sheet and you go over to the TPE section and you filter from high to low. I mean, that's really what you got to do. Like that is your biggest part because TPE is your biggest weapon when it comes to making a case for you being on a team or not when it gets to the SHL and IHF. In the J's or in the WJC, your biggest weapon is what kind of user and activity you can kind of add to it because a 250 TPE to 350 TPE, while it can be, depending on how that TPE is spent, pretty astronomical or a pretty big gap, it's not something that a team can't overcome.
Oh, for sure. I mean, I know watching the leaderboards for like defensive tactics. I laugh every time I see it because like there's Ara and I, and we're like 30 points apart, despite the fact that like we're a mountain of TPE apart. It just doesn't matter. I do have to ask though, have you seen the Quebec mech?
No, I can't say that I have.
Okay, this might be tampering because it is really cool. But I'm just gonna throw it in our group chat. This is the Quebec mech.
Let's see here. Oh, well, I mean, yeah, see, I'm sold. I need to put in my notice to France now. See, look at that.
This stupid little photoshopped image has gotten us so many players.
Oh man.
It is really nice, just we can talk all of the big long strategy and the specific techniques and how to get people to stay invested, and then you slam a fifth of vodka and you realize what,
Yeah.
it's all made up.
Yeah.
You have free will, man. You can do anything you want.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
Oh, or you could just try the old Caliph approach where he comes thundering in and gets into a 2-day argument with Cake,
Oh, that
trying
was
to
great. Yeah,
start
yeah.
going back and forth.
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah.
it was fun watching it.
The fact that we
Oh,
both just accepted in our DMs that, hey, can we lie about ourselves on each other? And Kate is like,
yes.
yeah. I'm like, oh, fantastic. You just start saying
And it was
stuff like,
just
you can't
funny
go
to
to the
watch.
USA. They eat dogs over there. They're horrible. You should come to Quebec instead. We have working
Just eat
spacecraft and
frogs
like
Yeah.
instead.
like light speed.
Oh God,
Stupid bullshit.
I feel like we're gonna need some fact checking over in the Quebec war room and recruitment area now.
Just don't worry,
Oh, we
we're not
definitely
allowing
will.
anyone else in.
There you go. There you go.
In here in our echo chamber, we are safe. No one can touch us.
There is no war inside the Blizzard Buzz.
Oh shoot! I just realized how much time we got left.
We've got about 19 minutes left.
Okay, we still got time. Okay, I realized. So there's two utterly necessary segments in every single Blizzard Buds podcast. The
Okay.
first one is the depression low time, where we talk about like burnout and jobs and money and difficulty and staying invested and all that. The other part is we have to talk about Fallout New Vegas at least once. So I
Okay.
hope you've played.
I've not played Fallout New Vegas. No, I cannot say that I have.
Get this fucker out of our recording booth.
Hold on.
What's he doing here?
Hold on. I believe one of our interns has a word for you.
No.
Degenerates like you belong on.
I'm not even gonna know who this is.
Okay, Joshua, that's enough there.
Are you making a Joshua Graham post in real time?
Maybe.
Truth is, the game was rigged from the start.
Okay, that's enough from the peanut gallery.
Well, I know you're a busy man, so unfortunately I can't recommend it to you because it has this tendency to just monopolize like the next 3 months of your life.
I feel like I have it in my Steam library. Let me see.
Oh,
don't get me wrong, I'd love to recommend it to you. It's fantastic.
I have
Also,
Fallout 4 in my Steam library.
It'll monopolize your. Oh, you have chosen Portal. Do you?
Degenerates like you belong on a cross.
Yes, thank you, Joshua.
Good God. But in all seriousness, with regards to it, I would highly recommend Fallout New Vegas. And he's not wrong in saying it does take over your life. I remember back in 2015 when I was attending school for the first time, had my old PS3, and mind you, it was put together with string and twine and ran horribly, crashing every 20 minutes. But still loved the ever-living heck out of that and played it pretty much every night. So let's say there's a reason I did not do well that semester.
Got you. So what is worse to you guys? Is it someone that has never heard or played of Fallout New Vegas, or someone that has played it and didn't complete it because they didn't enjoy it?
I would
didn't
say
complete it is totally fine, but didn't complete it because they didn't enjoy it.
Oh, good God.
That's kind of like
for me.
That's kind of like
go
the
ahead.
is the person who converts away worse than the person who's never heard the good news. I'm gonna have to go with the didn't enjoy it. Actually, Ara, I'm gonna need you to hold the line. Be the solo host for a little while. I gotta run and get a file transfer. I'll be right back though. I will be back to make more fun of you, so I will do it.
Perfect.
Just
you
remember,
can do that after hours too.
15 minutes, Caleb. But no, to answer your question, I would probably say the person who hasn't played it yet. It's like, I can understand not liking it, and having played both the PC version and the PS3, there are a lot of things that are turnoffs, namely how I'll be blunt, the Gamebryo engine it runs on is
Mhm.
kind of garbage.
Oh yeah.
And I think my favorite quote for it is something from Yatsu, something along the lines of it was thrown together with twine, rebar, and paper mache, which it's a great game, but goddamn, does that engine run like a rundown Yugo.
Yeah, and at least the person that tries it and just turns away after the fact, at least they tried it. The person
Yes.
that never tries it is not giving it a chance. So,
Oh,
gotcha.
definitely.
I was just curious.
It's kind of like the reason why I always hold back on criticism of Fallout 4, given
Mm,
I have not yet played it.
yeah.
So, like, I loved what I saw of the game, but just for one reason or another, I've never gotten around to it.
Yep. I mean, those kind of games can really suck you in, though. Those open world RPG kind of
Oh, I agree.
playing where you can just do kind of whatever you want. And sometimes I've tried playing those, but I get so distracted. And sometimes I'm such a completionist on things. Like, that's why I've never been able to like get into the Mario games, because I always have to go to every corner of the map in those like Super Mario World or 3D World or any of those ones, and I make sure that I'm not missing any coin or anything like that. And level 1 will take me hours and hours and hours. And I'm just like, that was kind of boring. And it's how I played the game that made it boring, not because the game itself was boring.
Oh yeah, I mean, and especially with the Bethesda title or Bethesda or Obsidian titles, there's always so much to do in them, so many side quests, collectibles, and so on. Like, I'll give you an example. One of my favorite Bethesda titles, Skyrim, and yes, I know I'm a filthy casual. I think I've amassed close to or somewhere between 1,500 and 2,000 hours in it over the last 13 years,
Oh my goodness.
and I still have not discovered everything or completed every quest in it. And that's before even mentioning the modded playthroughs.
Oh yeah, I mean, then it just opens up a brand new thousands of hours
Oh,
of gameplay.
But point being, you gotta love those games, and there's just a reason they're so fondly remembered over half a decade and a half since they were released. And I just wish a lot of the modern day developers would take a few pages from there.
Yeah,
Rather
I know.
than,
I definitely understand that.
but anyways, to bring us back to the topic at hand, since I know the media grading team will probably not like us veering too far off.
It's okay. I know the guy.
I said, yeah. But so, what advice would you offer to aspiring GMs, and what do you think is most important for them to keep in mind as they try to rebuild or try to work themselves into their new role?
So my best advice would be is just go in with a plan and kind of lean on who was there before, connect with the leadership that was there. Very rarely nowadays do you see any fresh new GM take over a completely random team that they don't have ties to. So, I mean, there's two different scenarios there. For when I first took over, I leaned pretty heavily on Toast and Crash and Koa to kind of help direct me. And then I kind of molded that into the success that you've seen the team have now. Be open to things, but stick to your plan, like that, because that's the biggest way to lose a team, lose locker room engagement, is if you guys are just sitting there like, well, when is our cup window? Oh, we don't really know. That's something that no user really wants to hear, because while the main point of the Jays is not to build dynasties and not to win cups every year, if you ask any J player what they really want to do, it is they want to win a cup. And so these users, you need to make sure you respect that out of your users. And as long as they feel like you're doing that, then, or at least have a plan, you don't have to win the cup. You don't have to be a top team every season, but at least that they trust that you have a plan, then everything tends to work out in regards to the locker room. The engagement stays high, the earning stays high, all of those things that you need to build a successful team are there. And then you'll realize that being a GM is one of the easiest jobs in the world because you have created an environment that fosters all those things.
Fair enough. I mean, it's definitely great advice, at least in my opinion, for any incoming GMs, which I think in this coming season, I think we do. I think if memory serves, we actually do have a couple of spots opening up on both the J and SHL level for
Yeah,
GMs of those if it serves.
And the turnover will continue to happen, and the opportunity for those of you that are aspiring to get into a GM role, the opportunity will be there. But outside of putting your name on the GM tag, it doesn't take the title to learn everything you need to become a GM. Most GMs everywhere, I'm sure, will be very happy to get you involved and understand everything it takes to be a GM. So just ask who you're and the team that you're involved with, find people like that are willing to help out and learn as much as you can.
Right. And I mean, even failing that, there's always a IHF or WJC too, especially WJC.
Always needs it, and that's where you'll learn a lot about the tactics side of things. Not so much the locker room management side of things, but deadlines, tactics, rules, things like that you might want to pick up. WJC is a great low risk area to do that.
Agreed. I mean, it's where Caliph and I both cut our teeth and despite how much of a dumpster fire that Norway season was, it was definitely very enlightening. And if I know it probably is more applicable to Caliph since he's GMing Edmonton now, but I think both of us learned a good deal from it.
Yeah. Exactly, and that's probably the most important advice that you could give someone. I know I spewed a bunch of stuff earlier, but really, as long as you're learning something every season, then you're doing a good job as a GM, in my opinion, and you'll eventually get to the end goal.
Fair enough. I know we're getting into our final minutes of the podcast here, so while we wait for Caliph, do you have any closing thoughts or advice or more advice to give out or anything else you want to say?
I'll probably just, one of the biggest things that's always been, especially been like on my heart for this league in recent seasons has definitely been just to be kind. Again, this community is a very, very special community, and it is a big mixing bowl of all different thoughts, ideas, beliefs, everything like that. And I just hope that this league can continue to put that first on a lot of things, and that we can all just continue to understand that we're here to have a good time. And there's a lot of people that are doing things unpaid, and there's a lot of people that do things differently than we might do them. And that's okay. And I hope that the league can continue to move towards that kind of unity and that kind of idea and respect for one another. I don't hope that we all always get along, because I think when we don't get along, there's a lot of growth that can come from it. But just that respect continues to grow. I know there's always been things. It seems like punishment threads nowadays, or anything that's going on, eventually the thread gets locked down very quickly. So I just hope that that can continue to be worked on, and that we as a community can find that support and respect for each other that we all need.
I mean, you can't get much better advice than that. So
I think that's basically the model of what you'd expect and really want and appreciate from a JGM.
Well, it's definitely worth to live by.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, remember though, I didn't say I want us to all get along, because I love when competition. You can ask people like Ramen and everything. The teams that you can give a hard time to and build that rivalry on. I mean, I think every time Maine wins in QCC, I go make a little post over in their locker room. So
yeah,
that's a lot of fun.
She loves it.
I mean, the sad thing is I just haven't been able to make very many of those posts this season, but still, it's happened before in the past, and that's where the fun starts happening. Is you connect with those people, you respect those people, and you don't think poorly of them right from the get-go. You always try to get to know them, get to understand them a little bit better, and normally good things come from that.
Fair enough. I think that's about it on our end for right now. Um, well, actually, so forgive me if I asked this before. My memory's kind of but going into next season, I know you can't really spoil it or share it all, but do you have anything in particular you've got your eye on or that you're hoping to see from either Maine or from some of your competition?
I think for Maine, the big thing that I'll kind of hint at for next season is just kind of this renewed look of optimism and success that'll come in a very unique way that some people might not be expecting. Not saying a branding thing or anything like that. That's not what I'm hinting at, but just something along that regards, kind of a new look Maine Timber. As far as things that I'm looking forward to is just continued parity in the league. I think that what was a really, really close season with a good amount of teams up top this season, next season it'll be even closer. I think there's going to be even less of a spread between the top and the bottom team, and we'll see even more upsets in things like the playoffs and in standings towards the end.
I hope so. I'm debating on whether or not to make a jab at one of my the team I play for's rivals, but the eternal question is: do you think Vancouver will find their way out of the SMJHL basement, or do you think it's still a long road to the top for them?
When you have someone
That's
that
a
has
cruel fucking question, considering
when
who's
you have
coming up
someone
next.
when you have someone that has led the team to success and a title before when the team was way down, then you can always have hope that they can do it again. So you have someone that has the recipe for how to do that in charge, and I think that the sky's the limit for that. Whether or not the plan comes to fruition, that's, like I said, mostly up to RNG and things like that. But Vancouver was once before a bottom dwelling team, and they were able to climb back out of that. And I think they can do it again.
I would agree. Shawnee, as said, is a great GM, good friend, and here's hoping to a great season for him. Not only him, but you as well. I'm not going to lie, it will be. Well, I can't spoil the surprise yet, but suffice to say, I'm looking forward to seeing what happens with y'all next season.
Absolutely. I mean, what's that? What's the gladiator salute again?
I don't know.
We
Yeah.
who are about to die salute you.
Exactly. That's
Pretty
the
much.
one. Good luck to you in the playoffs. We who are going to die salute you.
Salute you.
Oh,
Well, you'll have to have me back on again for sure, because we didn't even get into the nitty gritty of like my most controversial time as GM, which was Benchgate. Like we gotta get it at some point in time. There's so many people that probably want to hear that. We have to have a special episode about Benchgate.
we
Well, I
definitely
mean,
will.
we need to have you and Ramen on together too, so we can, have you two throwing your weight around at each other. It'd be great.
That'd be fantastic. Yeah, let's just we should just have a whole panel of people like, what's your thoughts on Benchgate? What's this? And let's just really open it up, because remember, I opened up that I have never been punished before, but there'd
We
be
just
plenty
open
of
up with
people.
a podcast of like 10 people. Like, hello, this is our petition to change.
I forget if UConn still has a bench on their ice, but I remember always messaging Flu and being like, "You guys are never going to take that bench off the ice, are you?" He's like, "Nope, never going to happen." So, well, I will definitely have to dive down into that at some point in time.
Will. It'll probably be here within the next couple of weeks or months, assuming I can get my darling co-host to actually commit to the schedule.
Shut up. It has not been just me. It has just been mostly me.
It's been 98% you.
You know what? Screw it. I'm introducing you as the co-host on the next one. I'm introducing Shawnee as the co-host on the next one.
Hey, don't give the surprise
you
away.
get to be our special guest.
All right. Well, Southpaw, it's been a pleasure having you, and we look forward to hosting you again. I hope
Sounds
you have a
great.
wonderful time.
Yeah, well, I
Yeah.
did. Thank you guys so much for the opportunity to come on the show and with patience for fitting me into your schedule. I really, really appreciate it. I look forward to doing more shows in the future and continuing to listen.
You're welcome.
We're
Well,
and we're
take
thrilled to
care.
have you, and may your deaths against the scarecrows be quick.
Well, to our audience, take care, and we will see you again soon. Good night, everybody.